Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a special event here today on Zelda Speedruns. The first ever Link to the Past random NMG percent. Checks, Claire, what in the hell are we doing here today?
Thanks, Cubs.
That's a great question. Thanks, Cubs. How you doing, Checks?
Good. Hello, Clearmouth.
Hello. Well, welcome. Thanks for that awesome introduction. I'm actually, it was actually really great lead-in. So for those of you who might have seen, Link to the Past randomizer restreams, or, some more Link to the Past, vanilla game restreams, this is probably one of the nicest, hybrid combinations that we have. So we are actually running the no major glitches route, but we are actually doing it with all of the quality of life features that the randomizer offers. So you can actually see, in this case, so those of you who might have Helpasaur in your chat and type, rando or not rando, you can actually tell in this case that it is actually the randomizer, because not only do we have the 4-digit rupee counters, we also have, looks like actually quite the variety of game sprites, not even a single vanilla Link here. And you also might be able to tell, I think we're actually using Mike's audio to start out with. There is actually not even, some vanilla game audio. We, as part of the, randomizer, we are actually allowed to be able to use, different MSUs, which is basically, like soundtracks or different music pieces from different video games, different media outlets. And so, there are lots and lots of different ways in order to be able to enjoy this game.
Yeah, this is an event I'm pretty excited for. Mm-hmm. Is it randomizer? Is it vanilla?
I would say there is actually like a lot of the lots of good things, the best things from, I would say, both worlds. And yes, in a case people weren't too much aware, this is actually now an official category on Speedrun.com. And as Chex Human, one of the fellow admins or moderators of that, they will be more than happy in order to take all of the speedrun submissions. Because I believe in this case they are really just looking, for more stuff to do, right, Chex?
Yeah, we're looking for more stuff to do. That's right. We don't have enough. No. This is just another way of playing A Link to the Past. So far it's we've already got lots of submissions, and we have 4 different categories so far on the randomizer leaderboards. And vanilla is one of them. So what this is simply the original game built onto the randomizer ROM. So the features we can include that are a little different include quick swap, switching items with L and R, as well as set RNG. So currently, we have 0 blue balls from Aghanim and 0 warps from Ganon. So this is just how we are racing this currently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And so I believe actually it was sometime, last year when ZSR also featured, the revival of the NMG, the regular vanilla game tournament. I believe that was also organized by Wayne. And, as part of the dramatic effect of something. Oh, we actually, I was going to say, sometimes, racers actually some of the races can be just kind of decided by, let's say like Aga RNG, right? I believe someone here who's also, may or not be, sitting here in the commentary booth, has a record of 11 blue balls. Not quite exactly what you would like to see in an NMG, race or speed run. That's really not going to be, happening today. Everyone here is going to get nice and fair 0 blue balls, 0 warps for everyone.
Yeah, despite my personal experience, I still like RNG of the original game. So we. It's just one way that the randomizer ROM is developed, and there could be changes in the future.
Yeah.
And more randomness in terms of just loading up a game. Currently, the ROMs are seeded, So everyone currently most likely has the same seed right now. So we'll see.
Let's hope that they have the same seed.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, so like, even though I guess maybe, it's not probably gonna be as damaging as, maybe like a traditional randomizer race where, two people load up, different seeds. So long as I guess it's like a vanilla one, it's probably gonna be okay. But of course, as Chuck did mention earlier, Agus is seeded, Ganon is seeded. Positions actually in which they move is also gonna be the same. So if you have different seeds, that will actually cause a little bit of variance. So not certainly the end of the world, but it's really, really recommend that you have the same seed.
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting to watch the boss fights in this race, because unlike in vanilla races, we will be able to compare and to see how our runners react to the same patterns.
Yes, right. So, okay, all right. So speaking of, our runners have actually gotten started. We are going to go through the regular escape sequence. So, okay, so of course, those of you who are, I'm actually very impressed, by the way, that all four, featured runners here, at least on Restream, Mike, Matt, Humbug, and Wolfie, I did not see a single person open up the map chest coming into Hyrule Castle, especially if you are, more of a, coming from the randomizer, community, especially if you're going through like a standard start, you don't know where anything is, you're trying to get some items out of escape. It is really easy to muscle memory, your way into, getting that chest. So certainly, kudos to all four of these guys for remembering. Of course, if you're coming from, let's say, the NMG world, or like the vanilla game, you actually see that when, in this case, everyone started to pick up the boomerang, there is no text box. Also takes a little bit of getting used to, just because you don't have to go mash text in order to, continue on the game, you automatically just be able to use that boomerang immediately.
Right, so meanwhile our runners are running through escape. They've rescued Zelda, they're taking her to Sanctuary, and Matt and Wolfie so far are neck and neck.
Yeah, certainly very, very nicely synced. Yeah, everyone is in this case passing through that the completely unopened chest. Very, very normal, by the way. In this case, I will say that Wolfie though looks like he has a very slight Rupee lead over Matt. So maybe he'll end up coming out a little bit ahead here. Now, of course,
yes, this is it's an example of RNG, of course. Not everything is set.
Yeah, right. So this checks you mentioned, that the boss RNG is mostly set. The regular enemies though, for example, are definitely not set, right? So we're actually going to see some variety of difference. Probably a notable example is in Turtle Rock, right? When we have to go fight like the two Pokies, kind of towards the end of the dungeon. If you can get good poking RNG, you can actually save a handful of seconds actually, just because you're able to be able to kill them a bit faster and probably go through like the room a bit quicker.
Yeah, and we have Bush RNG as well, but I don't think that will affect things very much. That's the reason for the Rupee.
I was gonna say, Shex, we may need to, hold on to those words. If we end up seeing that some runners get like a skull bush or like a bush guard or something like that, I would feel kind of bad. All right. So Matt,
this is true.
All right. Okay. Another, kind of like difference between the randomizer, typical is, well, we don't care about, okay. So certainly you didn't see anybody farming for bombs. The prize packs for none of the enemies, of course, have any bombs. But we also don't care about the packs. So this is a great time-saving technique, by the way. If you're rando, just don't open the chests because you don't need them.
Good point.
All right, so actually, pretty solid finishers, from most, for these runners, like, again, good time save, from the back of escape, no text boxes. I do see that looks like all of our runners so far have decided to pick up a very staple safety, of the NMG route, which is the Sanctuary Heart, most aptly called the Sank Heart because it does, it's located in the Sanctuary, and it's the only heart container that actually refills your health to full. Going to be very useful, potentially.
I don't know how much time difference there is in collecting the heart or not collecting the heart. However, it certainly doesn't make a difference. I don't think for our runner's personal best. I don't think they're trying to squeeze out 2 or 3 seconds by skipping Sanctuary Heart.
Yeah, and so there are definitely like a handful of runners that if they run like the vanilla speed game, then they probably won't end up picking up Sanctuary just because they're kind of especially if you're kind of at the 123, 124, 125 low 125 level, every second frames are going to count. In this particular case, though, more often than not, if it is certainly going to be a very viable safety. So coming into Easter Palace, even getting into Easter Palace, right? The Octoroks, they do 1 heart of damage. You actually see that Wolfie, is actually very much thank you Sank Heart situation. Wolfie, where? Oh, he's giving the heart. Okay.
Yeah, he's also opening the door.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay, all right, so we are going to see in this case, maybe it was a little bit of more rando-related muscle memory. Yes, in this case, you do not have to go open up the map chest in Easter Palace because this is a vanilla preset. Everything is where it's supposed to be in the vanilla game. And of course, if you already know that the map is there, unless you are really interested in knowing the dungeon layout, you could probably skip it. That's just a recommendation. Cub's also bringing up another, kind of like nice quality of life, improvement in the, vanilla game. This was actually a very recent addition to the randomizer as well, is that, for those of you who might be not able to necessarily maybe listen to some audio, there's now a visual indicator in the upper left-hand corner. We actually see that there's a capital P. This does stand for pendant. You'll see later on when we get to the Dark World, Pod, or all the other dungeons there are going to be a C for crystal. All the more, way to basically tell you that this is actually a pendant dungeon. Spoilers, I don't know if you guys maybe would realize this, but this is actually an all dungeon scene. We are going to have to defeat all of the Light World pendant dungeons, Agnum 1, and all of the Dark World dungeons before we go beat Ganon.
And you are right. We do have to do that in this rule set. I don't believe Ganon's vulnerability is determined by crystals, however. I believe that was actually removed for the ROM.
Oh, really? Really?
That will allow, that allows different glitch modes to be possible.
That is actually really cool to know.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm not saying much. I'm transfixed by the music coming from Structural Mike's stream.
Yeah.
Quite a variety of video game mixes.
Yeah, I mean, right. So, right, like, I mean, this is actually a really nice point you brought up too, Jace. Another great, the community in this case, for the randomizer, is, quite rich. Lots of, different people really like to contribute to different aspects of the game. And one of the things that randomizer lets you do is basically input, your own set of MSUs or audio packs. This is just another great way to enjoy this game. Matt's first one, basically, from the 4 into. Sorry, not the first one. Humbug kind of beat Matt to it. Very, very close though. Nice, quick Armos kills. We are, ready in this case with that green pendant. If you guys didn't know already, we're gonna go and go get our boots. Which, by the way, another nice thing about randomizer, because there are no text boxes and all that, we're gonna be able to get the boots actually just about a minute faster than the normal NMG routes, or the vanilla game.
Yes, thank you, Malmo. This is Silva Gunner, and we have heard this before. At least I have heard it. It is pretty humorous. So, yeah, we're off to collect boots, and our runners are already putting them to use using the famous minor glitch, Spin Speed. And, yeah, they're off to Desert.
Yeah, and actually, because right, so when people run, the vanilla speed run, it is always on the Japanese 1.0 ROM, just because of this, types of minor glitches are still, I guess, like viable in that version. Randomizer, for better or for worse, actually is built on top of or uses that exact same ROM. So that means that also in the randomizer, you might have also seen this. One of the big reasons why people really like, let's say, like starting boots, starting pseudo boots, early boots, right, is that we basically get to take advantage of all of these glitches and speed.
And I didn't mention it before, but I wanted to mention the rules of this race, which is a randomizer competitive rule set. These are the glitches we're allowed to use. And the Racing Council has a list of glitches that are allowed on the randomizer wiki. So it's all inclusive currently of NMG rules. So we're allowed to use NMG glitches and more, basically. And a lot of people are familiar with Icebreaker, Diver Down, and such.
Yeah. Yes, right. Those are some actually really pretty powerful, glitches or minor glitches, that randomizer is basically going to let, at least most of these runs save actually quite a good chunk of time. Not gonna, right. Diver Down, is in Swamp Palace. Icebreaker, of course, is in Ice Palace. So we won't be able to see these, for, a little bit, but they're certainly going to be quite the treat to be able to see later on. But until then, right? I was gonna say a lot of the movement here, from say Matt and Humbug, you actually see extremely clean dash lines, kind of really nice overworld movement. Of course, Matt, a very low 125 runner, kind of gunning for the 124 cut. He has certainly been practicing this quite a bit, so it's actually really great to see some really nice execution.
Or is it because Yoshi is the fastest sprite? Has this been tested?
That's actually an interesting question. We should maybe see, you put some of these sprites to the test, see who will end up winning a race. Dark Link. I will say though that Dark Link might have a little bit more of an advantage, just because I like some famous Dark Link sprite users include Airy, who is the NMG Vanilla world record holder. I believe currently he is also the current world record holder for this particular category, but I'm not actually sure if there are too many submissions, so feel free, of course, to try and dethrone him. Of course, there is also Blaine, another, fellow 123 runner, and so Yoshi, might, have his work cut out for him.
This is true.
So far, I have to say though, I am impressed with people. Like again, remembering that they don't need certain chests so far, right? Like for example, in the Desert Palace Compass chest, as Mike is apparently just kind of like walking across, you don't actually need to open it, especially when you might have an inkling of where or the boss is in this case.
All right. So our runners are starting to enter Desert 2. In other words, approaching Land Molas. And Landmo is a great example of an RNG heavy boss, but we should see similar patterns from the runners.
Yeah, alright. Yeah, so it looks like then after what? We actually just, thanks to Cubs again, in this case, we actually kind of swap into some, fresh runners, but again, everyone pretty much looks like they are, just right around, in this case, like, Desert 2. And for those of you who might be more familiar with, what is going to happen with Land Molas, it's arguably one of, like, the best, coolest boss fights to see, just because, well, in order to run and try and kill, this boss quickly, we're going to need some more damage output, or the highest damage output we're going to get. And our fighter sword doesn't really do very much. It's kind of wimpy. So we're going to try and basically use our bow that we got in Eastern Palace. It is going to be 4 arrow shots per Land Molas worm, and it is actually really cool to see when people get this. Looks like Shady is going to start off quickly, and I think you mentioned this before, Chex, right? Is that all of the bosses now are kind of seated, and so it's really interesting to be able to see what the runners do with the same type of Land Molas patterns.
Yeah, and these worms want to go down, which is interesting.
Yeah, and we actually saw some short hops as well. The less time they're going to be able to stay in the air is kind of like less opportunity, for us to be able to shoot them. Oh man.
Okay, nice cleanup for Shady Force using the sword to kill the last worm.
Yeah. And right, just also kind of like a point of note, you do want to at least, not necessarily use, all of your arrows. I think 8 is kind of like the magic number if you want to try and, or if you, so you don't have to end up kind of picking up some extra backup arrows. So another kind of like a good reason why, maybe some of these runners don't necessarily always want to use the bow. Maybe just try to use like their sword, as cleanup. It's 8 sword slashes, and it's 4 arrows. That's why, you'd want to try and use, the bow and arrow if you can, but if you're kind of like running low on ammunition, you definitely want to kind of revert back to the fighter sword. Yeah, looks like Incoherent though, finishing up his fights. Yeah, and this is also, even though this is the second, boss fight, of the game. Sorry, the second pendant boss fight. The ball and shade, of course, is the unofficial first boss fight of Escape. It's Eastern Palace is Armos. Since this, many people are kind of familiar with like the quick kill, it doesn't really have too much, I guess like divergence or RNG involved. This is probably one of the first opportunities we got to see, some how basically runners kind of handle like the same type of patterns in a more interesting manner.
All right. We had fake flippers for some of our runners already, which is a very dangerous minor glitch. What I expect from the RaNdoROM is that that getting hit while in fake flipper state would return Link to a save point. I think it would be a death warp, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think you're right in this case. Like you can definitely just wait it out, and then I think you can save and quit. I'm not as confident just because it was a very recent change, and I think it's been changed like quite a few times at this point.
Yeah. So thank you, Malmo. If this ROM uses major glitches fixes, then we do not have the fake flippers fix. In other words, it will be treated like the original game.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, which is, it's punishing if it doesn't go right. Mm-hmm. But that's the way the game works.
Yeah, so, yeah.
And what I mean by that is it sends getting hit while in fake flipper state sends Link to where he started, which might be on another screen, and that would cause a screen transition corruption essentially. And would either result in a DQ or a infinite scroll, which is not a race result we're looking for.
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. And I guess for what it's worth, the fake flipper, kind of situation was kind of accounted for in at least the NMG tournament that happened last year for the middle game. Is that if you do happen to get hit in fake flipper state, the only time you're allowed to save and quit is during that situation.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Now,
and that would be a provision, as Fox asks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was also going to say, so I have noticed in this case that some NMG runner, sometimes you're running like the vanilla game, people kind of have their own, way of doing Hera base. Me kind of see like P-Train, kind of, holding like, the pot, having, and getting Link normal speed, I think, right around Hera basement. Those of you who may be more familiar with like the coffee break scenario, Hera base basically you just hit the switch and they kind of sit on the pegs. It's interesting to see in this case, what runners decide to do in like the vanilla preset, Hera basement, right? Like, do you do the rando thing? Do you do like the NMG thing? In this case, we actually do see kind of like a mix of both. We are coming up here on trying to get the Moon Pearl out of the Hera big chest. We see a nice bomb jump here on Hera. Same thing looks like the Shady Force. Probably nothing with, in this case, like the early bomb jump that maybe some of you are also familiar with. And of course, one of the minor glitches that is technically allowed in, Rando is Hera pots. people steadily try and use that in order to try to get up to like the top of the tower a little bit faster. However, we are kind of missing a pretty important item equipment, which is the hook shot. So even though it is allowed, it is definitely not possible in order to be able to take off.
Yeah, alright, so what is Moldorm doing today? Moldorm is heading straight toward Link, going in circles, and Shady's got a good handle on it.
Yeah, it looks like actually also, Peach Train also took down Moldorm pretty well. Oh man, Shady's getting bullied here with old. Yeah, you can actually see Moldorm is pretty strong. He can definitely knock you down or knock you over like quite a bit. Good thing though in this case that Shady did not get knocked off. It is going to be actually quite the time sink, unfortunately, if you have to kind of reclimb and come back to Moldorm again. Okay, our checks. We have collected all of our pendants. Where do you think our runners are going to go now?
Maybe they'll go back to the Dark World portal and use out of bounds clips to get to Thieves Town.
Oh, wow. These are some pretty major glitches. You think they're allowed in this particular category?
Right. That's not randomizer competitive. You're right. Okay.
Maybe soon though. What do you think? Soon can be another category like that.
Yeah, of course. I got mixed up.
Yeah.
All right. So our runners are off to pick up the Master Sword. Incidentally, the mushroom is available as a safety. I wonder if anyone will pick that up for the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so Shady looked like he was about to, probably not intentionally, which is probably why he had kind of readjust his dash, in order to avoid that mushroom. But you also do bring up a good point, though, Jax. Oh, jeez, Rob. Remember when we were talking about bush RNG, Jax, and Rob almost got knocked into, the explosion of the bomb?
Oh.
Almost. He dashed through the bush. The bomb was there. It exploded, and he accidentally, I think, bonked. And so he was basically right coming back to the bomb, and would have been actually pretty detrimental. And just because we actually do see in this case, as demonstrated, or confirmed on Shady's side, Rob was also doing tree rupees, and we need to be able to not take damage in order to kind of kill, in this case, like 4 enemies before claiming 80 rupees from the tree. So if he hadn't actually got hit there, he would have basically had to start his his sequence of kills over again in order to get some more rupees.
I gotta say that was an incredible fight from Incoherent versus Moldorm. Just avoiding falling. Moldorm was extremely aggressive for whatever reason, and it was all over the arena. But great job keeping it together there. And meanwhile, Rob J. Beasley is in the lead going into Aghanim's Tower. And we are... There's not going to be much to say about the boss of this dungeon. We're just going to watch rooms and see how the runners do, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right. So typically speaking, well, at least if everything goes well, most runners looks like Shady, Rom, P Train, hopefully soon in this case for Incoherence. We are going to be able to. Man, that crow was really gunning for him. We're going to be able to basically get through Castle Tower, and keep our sword beams. Certainly going to be some speed optimizations to be able to use once we have sword beams. So of course it is going to be quite difficult, just because like the Dark Maze, especially you do anything. Those guards are, I don't know if they get paid overtime or just like a good salary, but they are on super high alert. Like they'll know when basically anything happens to you.
And Incoherent has already over 100 rupees and must have picked up Sahasrah's chests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So avoiding damage here is not essential. Interestingly, Incoherent is taking an alternative route. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets to Aghanim's tower.
Oh yeah, this is true. We don't typically see the left side of Lost Woods exit in this case, for our runners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like meanwhile, Shady, Rob, and Peachtrain, looks like at least Rob is slightly ahead, at least on the current restream going into Aghanim, and I believe we might have spoiled this a little bit before. For those of you who maybe enjoy trying to guess how many blue balls Aghanim will throw at us, you might be pleasantly surprised to see that in this case it will not be any. At least our runners are going to be pretty happy to see this.
My guess is 0.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good guess. I guess we're gonna find out together whether or not the 0 is actually be correct. Yeah. So of course, for those of you who might be more familiar with the vanilla game, so typically speaking, for every Aghanim cycle, you are going to get, 1 energy ball at the very beginning, for sure, and then it's a 50-50 chance for the next 3, whether it's going to be an energy ball or a blue ball, and then we're going to have lightning cycles. But in this case, it's not 50-50, everything is 100% energy balls. Also see, really kind of like major difference, with the exception of Uncle at the very beginning of the game, kind of telling us, a text box or 2. We do not have any more large talk, for the game. We don't have any maintenance dialogue. We especially, we actually watch Rob, and Shady, and Peachtrain, coming off the pyramid. There is no text box mashing to try and get through the amount of dialogue that Sahasra is going to try and give us some advice for.
Yeah, and thanks to the lack of text, we had an easy sub 27 light world from
that's
J.
true.
Beasley.
Yeah, and
Not
just
possible on the vanilla game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think, right, so like a sub, 30 light world is typically, like a pretty good, kind of benchmark for, like the, not necessarily even like the average runner, but something is like a really nice goal to shoot for. So the fact that, we can even get, like a sub 20, 2 minutes faster, right, is something pretty, it's pretty phenomenal. I mean, we even got, boots basically 1 minute faster, right? That's already, kind of like a victory for Randomizer, I think.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so our runners are in Palace of Darkness now, and we know what the prize will be based on the C indicator in the upper left corner.
Yes, our very first crystal dungeon. Imagine that.
and like you said before, the text boxes are removed, so we are not. We will not be experiencing the extra long cutscenes of each Crystal Maiden. So, so let's see how our runners are routing this. It should be no different than the original game.
Right.
Palace of Darkness can be confusing if runners do multiple categories because there are so many different ways to route it. But it's still pretty restrictive. We've got most likely a hammer jump. And we have a new set of runners now. So we're seeing Vortex of Doom with the Link's Awakening right from Game Boy. We've got Desert Eagle, Radical Sniper 99, and Mean DM. I'm not sure if I am pronouncing their name correctly.
I believe it's Mind DM. Yeah. Well, we're definitely, as you just mentioned earlier, again, like for Palace of Darkness, especially compared to like the NMG standard route, again, not too many, I guess, different glitches I think we can, or minor glitches we can kind of take advantage of, from the randomizer rule set. So yeah, I would certainly expect things to be pretty similar here, for the traditional one.
Okay, and we are able to see some execution differences based on our ability to quick swap. So we saw Vortex of Doom hammer dash at a line of pots.
Oh yeah.
And that cleared those pots more quickly than you can do in vanilla, because it would not be worth bringing up the menus to do that.
Yeah, right. And that's actually kind of like maybe something that can easily kind of like be missed as part of, just kind of watching, the randomizer, or in this case, like these types of runs, is the ability and use of quick swap, right? Just actually right here, you see that, Jesse is, already has quick swap over to the hammer for himself. Probably wants a quick swap back to the bow, though, in this particular situation, or in this case, we can menu. That's also fine. But like that actually, especially in randomizer, when you kind of have an idea of what item you want to use, maybe in the next screen or two, you don't in this case have to sacrifice any time in order to try and menu over, as opposed to like the vanilla game. Now, of course, contrary to that, and this might be maybe more evident in some like the later dungeons, is that menuing actually does give you a nice little added benefit in that you can actually use the menu to pause buffer or menu buffer, kind of give you a little bit of extra time to try and maybe react, line yourself up. We did kind of see that on Vortex's side when he was trying to buffer the hammer yelp. With quick swap, you really don't get that luxury anymore, right?
Right. So we have Helmasaur King, and Helmasaur shot no fireballs. So it seems to be a pretty nice boss today for our runners.
Yeah. One of course, the worst or the least desirable, type of patterns that you want to see or you do see from Helmasaur is when he starts to kind of like throw out, all the fireballs, and especially if he gets them off, right? There's one in the center of the screen, and then it kind of splits off into thirds, and then those split off into more, and it's just kind of like a big, like you have to, not only try and like not get hit and not die, right? It's also, quite a bit of time. You really just kind of want him in this case to kind of, move around, so you don't have to, basically you just kind of get straight into his face and just start, using the hammer, or using like, in this case, like spin speed to try and, get a little bit more, hitbox, from the hammer.
Yeah, it's astonishingly more difficult than, let's say, Moldorm or Aghanim, a cutscene boss. Yeah. It's as we say in vanilla speedruns, the Dark World is a difficulty spike, and Helmasaur is definitely a gate. But anyway, Vortex is in the Thieves Town overworld, on his way to Thieves Town, and it's time to collect some items. The flute. And Radical Sniper, that's Jesse, is that correct?
Yes, that is Jesse.
Right. And Jesse's in the overworld as well.
Yeah. And so we are going to be able to see in this case flute activation, and then we're going to be ready in this case to kind of go back in to try and collect our Titansmiths. Titansmiths are going to be able to open up it is going to open up the full amount of Smith chain for us, for those who might be more familiar with the randomizer. But, in this particular case, just because we know where all the items are, we're really just, concerned with the first, trimester, segment, first segment of the Smith chain, in that we just have to go rescue the blacksmith. We don't have to go do hammer pegs. We also don't have to go do the purple chest. Especially without I guess we have the mirror, but still, just a waste of time.
It would not be against seeing a 100% race on the randomizer ROM and see the full chain and full set selection.
Yeah.
But
I think it would be pretty interesting to run 100% on this, right? You know, because I'm not even sure if like the hundo route, you know, for NMG vanilla is all that. I mean, it's probably mostly set, but I am kind of very curious to see like what types of, you know, optimizations that like the randomizer can give us.
And yeah, we have anyway, our runners are in Thieves Town, and they are going to avoid damage. The enemies are all over this dungeon. A little bit different from all other dungeons. It's kind of hard to avoid damage, but with practice, it can go pretty. It's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Although speaking of practice, though, you know, Vortex is, as he's kind of making his, you know, way back to, in this case, like the Hellway. This, you do need a lot of practice, but I think even the best amount of practice can still not give you, in this case, like the RNG that you're hoping for in order to make a very clean dash up. Like, you know, you can certainly land yourself on the right pixel. You do still need some amount of cooperation from the enemies. Could also, in this case, again, you know, the regular enemies are not seated. So, you know, even though Vortex could have, in this case, like, not a great time, maybe some of the others might have a little bit of better luck.
Yeah. And Vortex is down to 3 hearts, so things are getting a little scary on that side.
Yeah, that's also a good point as well. You know, especially if you're here, we don't have any, you know, real safeties. You know, everything pretty much hits for, you know, 2 hearts apiece. Certainly going to be a little bit more, you know, precarious. This case from that Zizak, you know, once Vortex makes his way down to the basement.
These are some scary rooms, and I want to say a shout out to Jesse, who walked to the God Pixel in Hellway. So his dash was uninterrupted. Well, actually, there may have been an enemy RNG in there, but the pixel was exactly what he wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also think for what it's worth, it's kind of that, you know, since this is more of like the mid game, you know, for randomizer NMG, it is like, I think maybe people have kind of gotten, you know, settled down on I don't need to open kind of like any extra chest, especially for like Thieves Town in this case, right? Typically speaking, you know, if you come in here, you want to kind of just maybe at least open up the front floor. Good on, you know, I would say most people to just open up like the last one, which is like the vanilla big key chest, the 4th one, before kind of going up. The small key, of course, is in the maiden cell. You don't have to go open up the attic. You know, you don't have to do like kind of anything else. All right, Vortex on his blind fight. You've also might have heard this from, you know, vanilla NMG game. The randomizer blind is in fact a scripted fight. It was actually, but Vortex actually done a pretty nice job. You know, blind was stayed very nicely snug in the upper left-hand corner. Kind of something always you want to see, and that's certainly a really good safety mechanism to try and assure you that, you know, you don't end up getting killed by blind. Because when blind goes off the rails, he can hurt you pretty dang quickly.
Yeah, I always found it the most frantic and dangerous boss when I was a kid. Okay, and we have the 300 rupee chest from Vortex of Doom, and this is for Zora money. One thing we know from vanilla is that this is a conditional chest, and if we don't have the blue boomerang, the chest will turn into a red boomerang chest. But that's not how the vanilla ROM works. It's in fact only 300 rupees. Yeah.
Oh, right. That is correct. That is one thing, right? And that was actually maybe like a very minor change that people had to do for the hundo routes. Was that? Yeah, that's right. All right, Vortex though picking up the Smith pretty quickly in this case, and he is now, of course, rewarded with at least finishing up the first part of the Smith chain with his tempered sword. So hopefully now, the bosses are going to be, just slightly more comfortable. Nice fence dash. As Vortex ends up picking up his second 300 in order to, as you said earlier, this is basically just for Zora money.
Yeah, it looks like Link's Awakening Link can hardly reach the handle of his own sword.
That's true.
But somehow he's able to wield it.
Mm-hmm. Also kind of cool to see, I think, on MindDM's side is he actually did, in this case, take the time in order to kind of invest in, I believe also he turned in the mushroom in order to get the powder. Certainly something that is very viable and very reasonable, for runners to be able to do. The powder is a very, very excellent safety. Especially, for, we haven't quite gotten there yet, but, some of the end game dungeons, for example, like Mire, and, with Vitreous, Turtle Rock, right before there are a bunch of anti-fairies you can use, in this case to try and, give yourself a little bit of extra health before kind of going into some dangerous fights. We do see, probably that MindDM probably is more, coming from the randomizer, scene, just because it does look like, is it going to be a very slightly different route? He's like, oh yeah, I don't need, in this case, the compass chest, which is the third one. I just need the middle of the key chest.
Nice bomb jump from Vortex to earn the fire rod. Pretty standard spin setup. One like you said, we don't have like you said, we have quick swap, so we're not necessarily using menus. So we don't get a free menu to maybe check for a early bomb jump. So that technique is maybe a little bit less potent.
Mm-hmm.
So we have more. We will probably often see more standard bomb jumps from our runners.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, we were talking about all of the, different, great things you can kind of take advantage of, because this is like the randomizer. Still, unfortunately, I don't want to, break too many, bad news for people. We still don't get the Cave of Samaria, unfortunately, before Skull Woods, which means that, in this case, in order to get the vanilla, in order to get the big key, from its vanilla location, we are still going to have to kind of like push and drag that statue around. That is something that we still can't get around in this case.
We have a very tense situation for Vortex approaching the moth fight. He can't afford one hit, but no more than that.
Yeah. Of course, the goal. Oh my gosh. The goal, for any runner is you want to kill, the bosses. Oh my gosh, Vortex. As fast as you can. Moth is probably, really up there on that list because you can kind of see in this case, the longer the fight goes on, right, the more these spikes are moving. In addition to Moth, and you really don't want to be this. Holy frick, Vortex.
Let's go. It's
all
done.
Right.
So, we saw before this fight, Vortex down to 1/2 of 1 heart. He was able to farm 2 hearts in the mummy key room without getting hit. And one of the hearts came from Helmasaur, which means we're on the fairy drop, if I remember correctly. And so, that might be an advantage. Because Vortex is able to farm the fairy and Turtle Rock more quickly.
Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't even, I think, mention that early on as part of when people were kind of going through Castle Tower. But actually, it looks like we have a couple new runners. Kason, man, just coming in, looking at his moth fight, solid 9 out of 10. Very, quite. With, not heartbeats, quite the contrast for Texas situation, I would say.
Yeah.
But probably in this case means that Kason ended up finishing him off very, very quickly. But yeah, actually, to your point, Shaq, so one of the things that maybe we didn't end up mentioning, from runners when they were in Castle Tower, another one of the reasons why we want sword beams for that first chest with the double guards in order to try and get the first small key is we want to be able to dash kill them. Sword beams definitely in this case will help. In that case, we can get one extra hit, so we can preserve the prize packs. In this particular case, we really want to be able to save a fairy, so we can basically use that, especially if you don't have any other kind of viable safeties, to be able to use, internal rock. So hopefully, if everything has gone well, for our runners, we're going to be able to see some nice fairy drops from Pokies when we get over there.
Okay, fun fact. If you are listening to the audio from McMonkey's side, and I believe that's what we're on right now, we have random sound effects.
Oh yeah, that's true. I believe McMonkey even asked this, ahead of time, and this is ZSR, by the way. One of actually really really nice platform, and actually very very accommodating, for the community in general. So typically you don't get to see hear these type of things on Restream, but they were very kind enough in order to let us make this happen. So also
really showcases the madness available
yeah.
with the randomizer program.
Mm-hmm. Alright, yeah, so speaking of McMonkey, Kaysen, Norse Maddie, and Retro, here on Restream. I was gonna say though, so speaking of McMonkey, being here in Mire, you definitely don't typically see this, in the vanilla run, just because in this case there's kind of not a really great reason or not a very urgent reason to come into Mire, right after Skull Woods. However, because of the randomizer competitive rule set, in that I believe Chex kind of mentioned this very early on, with the inclusion or allowance of Icebreaker to be able to use, before this case, Ice Palace, the fact that we can use, Diver Down, before Swamp Palace, means that if we can get the Key to Samaria before those two dungeons, we are definitely going to be able to save a lot of time, and this is probably exactly why McMonkey is here.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see routing divergence.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we've got an early Mire for McMonkey. Kaysden, not sure. It looks like I'm able to see his splits, and I don't see what's coming up after Swamp, but it's certainly a different order. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what our runners do.
Mm-hmm. Right, and see also Fox in chat here bringing up that even though Diver Down is allowed, you don't need in this case specifically the Key to Samaria to pull that off. You are certainly very free to use bombs, very viable strategy. And it's just in terms of maybe resource management, I'm not sure if you want to go pick up maybe an extra bomb, but it's certainly very very viable for runners to do. So you don't have to in this case maybe go into Mire with the amount of health that you have immediately after Skull Woods, for example. If you want to do it after Swamp and get yourself an extra heart container, certainly also very reasonable to do.
Oh, what is Kaysden doing? Okay, different something,
routing.
maybe mind change.
Oh yeah, I guess typically after Zora you decide to go into Ice Palace, but yeah, then probably Kaysen's like, what, I want the Key to Samaria, which means I need to go into Mire before Ice. Let me just run out because you can't flute inside the Zora area, so it looks like he's gonna go and opt to do Swamp Palace first. Yeah. Speaking of random sound effects checks, dude, it's you hear the Ganondorfs, it's like no, Ganondorfs don't happen in this ROMs in this randomizer. We definitely fixed it.
A random fact about mirror block erase, which our runners do in the dam. Kaysden just used it in the dam.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it's something, for some reason it causes Link's bonking animation to be different, and so when he hits the top of the wall he just bonks in place, which can be a funny strat, but it's not usually employed. All right, we've got a Vitreous fight coming up for McMonkey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks like McMummy's gonna go through more or less looks like the textbook, NMG Vitreous fight. Okay, alright, just
Nice.
unfortunately missing the zero cycle. Not quite enough eyeballs ended up kind of landing into the aftermath of all the sword spins, but McMuffy definitely is down.
Yeah, and I'm digging the Castlevania music. I don't know about you, but I pretty much go through my whole day just humming Castlevania music.
I'm probably not that big of a fan,
Knight.
but it is really nice. It is really cool music. Again, this is one of the nice quality of life improvements. Another really nice way to be able to enjoy the game.
And this might be an NES medley, right? So I'm not sure if I know the game for the boss music exactly.
Okay, yeah, so, we talk about, routing divergence or an order of preference. With Monkey now looks like he is actually going to go after the flippers, catfish, over to Zora, and most likely this is going to be his foray into Ice Palace. Meanwhile, though, Kasten and Norse Maddie, or at least Kasten, is kind of having a little bit of head start into Swamp Palace itself. Even though, Diver Down is allowed, in this particular case, and there are kind of two locations in Swamp Palace where you can do Diver Down. Unfortunately, left side is still not going to be viable, even though it is allowed, just because, we don't have the hook shot, so you can't, in this case, steal the small key, because we can't, get it yet. So, left side still, going to be the traditional, intended way, in this case, of doing left side. But once we get to the back, though, it's certainly going to be pretty viable.
We have a pink water Zora's domain in here.
Nice. Oh, yeah. I mean, we must have palette shuffle here, too.
Yeah.
You mentioned this earlier, right? It just checks to see, basically all different sorts of divergence. We have literally, 4 different rudders on 4 different screens. Retro is in Mire, Norse Maddie's basically just picking up his ice run, McMonkey's, basically pick up slippers right now, and Kasten is gonna pick up his hook shots. Yes, you cannot hook to the big chest because you don't have the hook shot yet.
A solid Vitreous fight from Retro. Great to see.
Yeah. You also do see, the demonstration of you quick swapping over to the mirror, just, right between, when, in this case, the explosion happens and, when the crystal drops. Always kind of, great to see, especially maybe in Randomizer, maybe those of you who've kind of seen or experienced, hopefully not personally, if you accidentally quick swap over to the mirror too fast, and then you think it's an arrow shot that you still want to go kill Vitreous for. Not probably the best, scenario for you. Definitely one of the dangers of quick swapping.
Okay, so now I'm realizing that the cane is not especially helpful for Swamp Palace because our runners can choose to use a bomb or a diver down.
Yeah, right, yeah. The bomb diver down is also, it is viable. It's just I don't know how, I guess, tight, the bomb resource route for them is.
Oh yeah.
If you choose to use a bomb for diver down, I guess I don't know, if you have to go pick up another bomb later. I think I kind of assume it's runner's preference.
Right. Yeah. It's probably worth it, basically. But it could depend on drops if your route doesn't account for it.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It does account for drops.
Yeah, and you can probably talk to this a bit more. I guess just based on what I've kind of anecdotally heard from people, some people have very tight bomb routes. Some people don't care much about bombs. Some people really care about their arrows. At least their arrow drop route. Probably just might be more up to the runner itself or themselves.
And here we have an icebreaker route from McMonkey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were so busy, talking about. Yeah, this was actually probably one of the, major highlights of time saves and major differences between the vanilla game and, randomizer. And actually, kind of, with the, inclusion of Diver Down in randomizer, especially when it was first, introduced. I don't know if it was just more, meta at that point, but it's like people are now almost like unwilling to go into Ice Palace without the cane, just because. Especially compared to the traditional NMG vanilla route using Ice Palace Bomb Jump, it just saves like minutes, right? So the people are just so unwilling to be able to try and give that time save up.
All right, Cold Stare. It's a dangerous fight and ends a lot of runs for runners. So. How are we doing? We've got 4 hearts left. This is a dangerous situation.
Oh my gosh, McMonkey, he has no fear. Did you see how close he was to those coaster
No fear. That's exactly right.
Oh man. McMonkey was definitely a one-hit KO mode next to those cold stare pubs. I know you can't really tell by his Fieri sprite. He is still on green mail. And cold stare pubs do group 4 hearts of damage. So he was pretty dang close. Also, very kind of nicely noted to mention
Amazing
because sorry.
Amazing pronunciation. Thank you for that.
I might have watched a lot of Triple D, Downers, Drivers, and Dives when it was still going on. But I was also going to say, as maybe, as kind of like Retro is here in Ice Palace, and we kind of see, his demonstration of Diver Down, one of probably like the major, quality of life options for safeties, for, in this case, Rando, is that because in this case you can basically get to, the big chest so easily, with Diver Down and Icebreaker, with Icebreaker, you have actually the option in this case of picking up blue mail, which doesn't usually happen in this case in the vanilla run, just because you're just so far away from the big chest, right? But here, if you really want blue mail in order to kind of give you kind of like that extra defensive protection, it is literally just kind of like right there, like in your path. Definitely not very big of a detour.
We have new runners. We've still got McMonkey, we've got Yerak, we've got Hyruler, and we've got PH 112358. 1-3 presumably after that.
Yes, very astute observation. I believe it is very close, so similar or intended to be part of the Fibonacci sequence. And fun fact, actually, PH said that PH used to stand for placeholder because he didn't have like a better name, and now PH is actually like it's stuck. So. Yeah,
that's funny.
Looks like the Hyruler and PH kind of coming up to their icebreaker. Don't have to in this case get the small key. And Hyruler kind of demonstrating here once you kind of come down the stairs, you can basically just fall into. And of course, maybe those of you more familiar with trying to get to the big chest and randomizer, you do have the hook shot if you want to kind of hook through the blocks during one of the block push animations in order to be able to get in this case your blue mail.
And unrelated, I love that we have our second runner as a Rocco sprite.
Oh yeah,
from Rocco's Modern Life.
Mm-hmm. All right, I was in pretty good position here on Yurok's side. So Ryok's also been, I think really putting a lot of effort, into the vanilla NMG run. Really nice, I guess, switch positioning after basically hit it and try to get past the blocks. He is also using Outline Link, one of my personal favorites. So I didn't know you could also. Well. Yeah, I didn't also know you could bonk like that, I guess. Maybe it was just like a very, unfortunate dash line to be get right in the center, I guess, of the pots.
On Yerek's side? Mm-hmm. I missed that one.
Yeah.
Alright. Cold Stare coming up for PH.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so it looks like PH was actually going for a 6-slash technique. One of the pups just kind of got away from him, but yeah, certainly nothing to be concerned about. Definitely not like McMonkey's fight that we were like.
Yeah.
He looked like he was pixels away from that. You know what? That even might be too generous. But I can even venture to say it was 1 pixel. It was that close.
Okay, so High Roller has placed the Ice Rod pickup in his Swamp Palace segment. So it's so optional. It really doesn't make a big difference, but it's interesting to see where each of our runners choose to do this.
Yeah, it looks like Yurok also demonstrated the cane version of a Diver Down. Also good on him to remember that there is no need for the waterfall chest. I guess we're just, we're gonna go mode swamp because, well, at least we know that everything, left in this dungeon is of value is just gonna be on the boss.
We don't really need the 20 rupees, I guess.
Mm-hmm, yep. Looks like the McMonkey also showing us the cane version opted to pick up a couple extra hearts. Certainly, I don't know if he was necessarily a bit spooked from the cold stare fight. As in this case, like Yurok, I think it looks like he's trying to get the 0 cycle. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it. Pretty close though. Unfortunately, no dice. Argus though.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, so Argus, while it is like the second crystal dungeon boss, so you'll face him pretty early on in the game. Those pups, don't do individually very much damage, but like 4 or 5 of them when they gang up on you, and certainly can wreak quite a lot of havoc.
McMonkey's hook shot is doing warping sounds. Looks like he got an empty cycle, unfortunately, but good effort. And yeah, I wanted to say Yarek came into Swamp with 0 arrows and leaves with 5.
Oh wow!
So I'm kind of curious about his arrow routing.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious to see what because we are going to kind of need a couple more arrows. At least like just kind of finish up like the rest of the game. Oh my gosh, this screen like. There's so much anxiety, and especially of course you want to try and be able to keep like full health, so you can keep your beams. But not only that, well, maybe total health isn't too much of an issue. The crabs still do 2 hearts of damage apiece. There could be many dangers kind of lurking in the grass, like guards, bombs. You're probably also not too happy about missing the flute bird.
That's a hard one to pull off, but props for going for it.
And yeah, and also I think
our routing is not set in stone for our runners, as we saw McMonkey transition perhaps to dash to Ice Palace, but instead chose to flute away regardless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, though.
Time to shop for Monkey.
Looks like it's gonna be Ether here, for McMonkey, as High Ruler and PH are kind of making their way in this case through Swamp Palace. Actually, it's kind of like pretty cool to see. Actually, PH even for those who might be familiar, playing like the randomizer, he has his personal tracker up on available, so we can actually even see in this case like how many items have been left in dungeons. This particular case, I think for Swamp Palace, probably just going to be like 4 at this point. We're gonna get the hook shot, and then we're gonna get the heart container on Argus. But speaking of, Yurok, on his way already opening up a Turtle Rock. It is in fact a Quake, so and luckily for us, we did pick that up from Catfish, so we actually gonna have an entry in, and and of course, from a rando routing perspective, right? This is exactly what you want to happen. You want to be able to be up on the mountain, and get through, and then basically just dash straight over to Gannis Tower.
How convenient.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have a new set of runners. We have Matt, 7898, already headed through Turtle Rock and picking up the big key. We've got Rob J. Beasley on his way to the same room. And we have Shady approaching the same area, and we have Yerek still.
Yeah,
So,
and actually,
nice to see our dungeons in the same runner.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for
Maybe
sure.
I said that backwards.
No, I was actually going to put up maybe it's something a bit more subtle. So like Yurok actually when he was in the map room, with all the rollers and trying to get through. One thing, again, you can use quick swap here in randomizer. We actually just watch him, basically just use the hook shot to try and hook over to the chest in order to get the small key. And something definitely not going to be something viable in the regular, just because you don't want to kind of sacrifice the extra menu time, right? But in this case, especially being able to be hook shotting also gives you kind of like some iframe, so you don't get hit or killed like what Yurok is going. Shots.
Yikes!
Holy cow! Okay, all right. Nobody's worried. This game is certainly has shown some of his claws here on Cold Stare, on Chomps, on Moth. Yeah. Thank you, Sankart.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And it continues to be a scary situation.
Yurok is 100% thankful he picked up that sanctuary heart.
Yeah.
All right. Like, looks like though, while we have Matt's DKC, I think it's Trilogy MSU kind of like jamming out here in Turtle Rock. He has successfully picked up his small key off of Laser Bridge, and yes, you only need the fourth one. I think the order is like some like green rupee, blue rupee, red rupee, or something like that. We definitely don't need any more money at this point.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me to turn that up.
Okay, right, and so Matt looks like, all right, on to Trinex. He is going to at least menu over to the ice rod. One subtle difference. What were you saying?
Oh no!
Oh no, Yurok! Oh, that is unfortunately pretty.
Yerek got a far away, 10 arrow drop, and maybe considered getting them, but then suddenly had a much larger problem.
Oh no. Yeah. I hope he wasn't too influenced by the fact that he wasn't on very high arrow count to begin with. Or you mentioned he was exiting swamp with 5, and so he's like, oh, arrows, and then this game is not doesn't have to be kind to you. Alright. Matt, though, along with Rob, and looks like Shady's going to finish up Trinex. Matt, I think, did a pretty textbook, textbook NMG / RaNdoMG percent fight. I would like to also point out one of kind of like the differences between going from the fire rod to the ice rod. Again, quick swap lets you be able to save that menu time. However, quick swap, because you don't have the menu buffer in order to go kind of from the ice rod to the fire rod, does kind of give you a little bit less time to be able to react to where like the fire head is.
Yeah. So, with that crystal, our runners have saved Zelda. She does not have any advice for us, but we know we'll use the power of the maidens to open the front of the tower.
Yeah.
And fight Agamotto and Ganon.
Yeah. And Matt's kind of like also demonstrating here, people have their hook shots out. You can actually, in this case, like demonstrate, basically hooking to the pot. And yes, those of you who maybe, have preferences, for, GT big key routing, it is, I would say, a pretty standard, fixed route in order to get all the way to, behind Ice Armos in order to get your big key.
Yeah, and we know exactly where that big key is. No need to guess.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Shady, though, kind of getting bullied here by that Stealthos. And you guys, you see just a very slight difference again. Of course, randomizer runners, especially in GT, have practiced this room, hundreds, if not thousands of times by now. Again, quick swap basically lets you, to get through this room by quick swapping from the boomerang, to the hook shot. Just get you there over a little bit faster. All right, Matt. Though, just enough arrows going into Ice Harmless. This is kind of exactly what you want to see.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite exactly what you want to see with that anti-fairy. Matt is gonna have to remember in order to pick up some magic along the way. Right after, I guess maybe like the first room with like the mimics and like the pegs. You definitely want a full bar of magic as you start the climb to GT. Oh no! Did something happen to Urok again? I don't like the fact that we're still at the beginning of turnaround. I'm really sorry, dude.
Yeah, I didn't see the movement that
oh no.
that caused the death, but the initial issue was missing the first ice rod shot, and that probably threw off the rest of the fight.
I see. Okay, that is really unfortunate. Again, this game is very, very difficult, especially you want to try and save some time. Green mail, while blue mail is something that's very helpful to have if you're really trying to cut down some time. That is going to be a luxury that you can't afford. Looks like Shady also maybe having a little bit of an issue with some magic. It is going to be maybe a little bit more limiting, for both Matt and Shady. I assume they are definitely going to manage, but there's going to be maybe a little bit of extra time if you want to try and find some extra magic. Nice Cannonball room there for dashing on Matt's side. Certainly shows a lot of practice on his side.
Nice. Right, Gauntlet, a series of 5 rooms, one of the most fun rooms, sections of the game. It can really be costly in terms of time in a speed run if it goes wrong. Matt is a professional. It looks like things are going right.
No,
and 5 is down. So, way to go.
Yeah.
Let's see what Lammo 2's patterns are.
Oh, right, that's right. It's going to be another boss fight that is fixed. Looks like Lammo's decided to. I think you mentioned this earlier when Lammo's 1 was happening. Yeah, everything was going down. This one doesn't seem to be much of an exception.
I'm a little confused about why Matt didn't shoot the first fire rod shot at the first Lammo, but maybe just something was off in the rhythm. Let's see how it goes for Shady. Yeah, the first worm was not a problem, but the second, third worm.
Yeah, and you can actually see in this case that Shady is going to use sword spins instead. I think one of the concerns at this point is that you really want to try and save some magic, just so you can manage it here in Torches 1.
Something didn't go right for Rob, so not the best fight, but continues on.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of, we're back to Trinex. Rob. Urok. Oh my gosh. All right. Okay. That's probably looked a little bit closer than it actually was. But luckily, Urok landed the last hit again. He would have been a one-hit. He is a one-hit KO mode because the head, in this case, still does 4 parts of damage. So I'm really glad that he got the last hit in. Yes. Okay. So, while we can actually, I guess, point this out now, one of the kind of recent patches that the randomizer did is that there is no more jingle glitch in the NMG game. There still is. So sometimes if you go up the stairs at the same time, kind of like the jingle that you hear after the torches go out, you can actually despawn everything on top of the rest of the tower. And while you don't have to necessarily deal with all of these pesky mini Helmasaurs, unfortunately, Aga will also not be there, so you can't, unfortunately, beat the game. So you have to start all over.
And that's something our vanilla runners will have to watch out for, because it's the major glitches fixes.
Oh, that was a really nice triple on that side.
Oh yeah, I get too. This is a really important one. We'll see how runners react to the same patterns, of course.
Yeah, it looks like actually patterns were relatively good, I want to say.
Yeah. Nice fight.
Oh, nice. Nice double on Shady's side. Yeah, at least looks like it was 2-2-2 on Shady's side. So I think Matt also had a 3 cycle. I want to say maybe it was like something 3-2. Yeah, again, alright, so we have already gone over past to Ganon. Matt, this is gonna be, as, traditional NMG, basically no difference at this point, between, like, the randomizer and the vanilla game. Matt is gonna have to hope in this case he's gonna try and get the 1-on-1. Looks like he's doing an excellent job. Not in one-hit KO mode, which is always really great to see. He does have, he has at least enough health in order to take down, to take a fire bat. But of course, like, the dangerous part's gonna be over.
Okay, early second spin for Matt.
Yeah,
Gets torch
nice.
glitch. Oh no, I missed what happened to Shady.
Oh, did he just end up getting hit early on? I also missed this. Maybe he got tridented? At least I think it was towards the beginning of the fight, so it's certainly not going to be a very major time loss, right? So for example, like Matt. Oh, okay. On phase 4 already, probably the worst part that he can suffer is basically falling, because then not only, of course, does he not have as much resources, he has to basically start the entire Ganon fight over again.
Yeah, rare damage in phase 4 for Matt, but it's been solid otherwise.
Yeah. No, he had a very excellent phase 4. Basically, even managed to land 2 hits before basically having to activate Torch Glitch. Get your GGs out in chat for Matt taking down Ganon. I'm not sure. We can double check to see if he is the first one to finish in the race room. But he definitely is. Oh, well, congratulations! Matt finishing first place in the entire race and first here in Restream, 1:16.24. A very excellent performance here and showing on Matt's side.
Yeah, congrats to Matt.
Looks like that we have been, as Matt has finished up, we swapped into a couple more runners, all of them on Ganon. Various phases. Shady, finishing up phase 4. Rob, also finishing up phase 4. Humbug, starting phase 4, in phase 3, starting phase 4. P-Train just starting his, looks like, first phase. Does have to be a bit careful. He is only on 2 hearts. This is probably as safe as he's going to get, but the bats don't have to be cooperative.
GG to Shady.
Yeah, looks like GG Shady finishing 1:17.18. No, these are some really solid times. So I want to say there is basically some estimate about the rando version being I want to say 10-ish, 9-ish minutes faster than the vanilla game. I mean, it's certainly going to be an estimate, kind of depending on the different routing choices. But this is certainly going to be I would say a very nice combination category, right? It's got a lot of great things from the randomizer. It's got a lot of great things from the NMG side, and so certainly very, very much encourage people if they want to kind of maybe try out to see if NMG is right for them. This is actually been a really great way to do so. And the leaderboards again more than welcoming in order to see some really cool times.
Yeah, I encourage anyone interested in running this to submit your time to the leaderboard, of course.
Yeah.
One thing we're doing right now is seeded RNG as pretty much the only way to generate a rando ROM. So don't forget to include your seed URL when submitting.
Oh yeah, actually checks like so. Does that mean that people can actually like submit times for the same seed?
Yeah, exactly. And that's an interesting thing for runners who want specific RNG. They can, copy the link that another one uses.
I think that's actually I think
they can share
that's
with
really
each other.
cool. Mm-hmm.
My preference is random RNG every time, so I don't care which RNG I get. So I can react to bosses in a new way every time. But others may have a different way of playing in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's actually also like another one of like the benefits of basically having a randomizer and having this leaderboard, right? Is that you basically get a lot of different options, for what you want to do.
And as it grows, we can always add more options.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, looks like actually we are joined by a couple of top finishers. So we have Matt finishing first place in the race with 1:16.23. Shady not currently with us with a finish of 1:17.18, but we do have Humbug who finished third place in 1:17.59. GG's guys.
Hello,
GG's.
Hello.
GG's.
So how do you all feel about your runs compared to your other attempts?
I've only done this route once before, and I don't remember how I felt about that run. This was not my best effort, I don't think, but like in just this, it's pretty good for just a race, I think. I'm not disappointed.
And Humbug, how about yourself?
Yeah, I felt okay, but then I took a hit during Fake Flipper, so I had to save and quit.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, so I lost a minute in the hair split.
Gotcha.
But after that, I hadn't done this route before, so I'm not sure what route you took, Matt. But I did Swamp before Mire.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. No, I did Mire Pace Swamp. And I was very scared in Mire, so I wouldn't mind doing Swamp before Mire.
Yeah, I just figured both having Hookshot for some easy traversal and another heart for Vidi seems good.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, hook speed up the mountain is Criticasm. So.
Yeah, I missed that for sure.
We're also joined by. Yeah, I was gonna say we're also joined by Shady. We did finish second place today. GG's, Shady.
Yo, thank you, GG's gamers.
GG.
And your run may have been a little rocky. Is that right, Shady? If I remember correctly.
It was. The light world was terrible, right? And then Pod was terrible because I messed up Hammer Jump. And then from Thieves on the way to the end of GT, I gamed out of my mind and I posted so many golds, and I saved 40 seconds on my PB. 40 seconds on my PB.
4-0, wow.
4-0, yeah. And incredible. And then I died again at the end, and I was like right behind Matt, and I was so mad.
Right.
I don't think it cost me. Like I think Matt is winning anyway. I don't think I'm quite fast enough, but I'm just so annoyed. But it was fun though. Like I obviously played very well in parts, and then had some major mess ups. So it's just the way it goes for a race. It's not too bad. It's a solid time for a race.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Right. So I guess speaking of though, you guys are all going to submit your times to the leaderboards, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to Chex to do any more work. He's a busy guy, you know.
I mean, well, there's also there's Mike and there's Kern, right? There are other admins.
Hey, I have a time submitted and it's still waiting for approval, so I don't know what these mods are up to, but shambles.
Well, speaking of mods and more joiners, oh man, there are too many names here. It looks like we got Rob joining us, and we also have Mike, another admin. Mike, they were just complaining that you guys weren't doing anything and not fast enough to verify all the times of leaderboards. Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, I hope you guys have had a good time, and we'll submit more times that we can put on the list to approve. That's what I have to say about that. We'll get to them. And it's been a working week. It's been a busy week for everyone. Just having a good time playing games. No, We'll get to them in due time. Don't worry.
There's too many ladder races going on and tournaments and stuff, so it's no wonder everyone's too busy. Like I said, I was just a joking complaint rather than a serious.
Oh no.
No, I get it.
Also,
Serious, I'm watching you, Mike.
Yeah, actually, it looks like I also miss Kaysen being in here. GG's.
Oh, GG.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah.
In like twice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just gonna maybe ask, like, so if this was maybe kind of like your first, or maybe like first few times like running this, and kind of like any thoughts, I guess, like between just like regular randomizer versus like vanilla, versus like any things you guys liked, didn't like. How scary is Meyer?
Meyer is terrifying to the point that I did Swamp first. I just wanted the extra heart. I didn't want it to be quite that tight heart-wise. So, I mean, I run NMG a decent amount. So I'm decently comfortable with the fight, but with the hearts you would have going in there, it's pretty tight.
Scary Maya's great. I love it.
Good to hear.
I chicken out. I do Swamp first, and then Meyer, and then I convince myself that the hook shot makes up for the lost time. So it's all good.
Yeah, interesting to hear that sentiment. I didn't think about the hook shot navigation aspect of this. Well,
Oh, it saves like a
the race was going on.
At
Yeah,
least
sure,
a second,
sure.
yeah.
And
Well,
very
the other thing
important.
is, I didn't. When I got into the Meyer big chest room, I was like, "Uh-oh, all right, I have to do it this way," and it took me a minute. And I almost walked right off the end because I had to like register in my brain that I didn't have a hook shot. So maybe it would have been good to have one there.
Yeah. I was slightly curious about whether anyone in the race would pick up Blue Mail, since it's a potential safety in Ice Palace, but I didn't see anyone do that in this case.
I think the problem with that is you have to do Swamp first for it to be reasonably fast, because otherwise you're waiting for Bomb to explode the floor. And if you do that, you're only going to have Blue Mail for Turtle Rock. And at that point, I don't know how worth it is. It's hard to say. And you still have to do a lot of scary stuff on Green Mail, so...
There have definitely been some pretty, very scary moments that we kind of see like on various runner screens. And Turtle Rock probably is definitely no exception. I'm not actually sure. I think we weren't able to focus on everyone's chomps, I guess. But yeah, I think Yurok definitely did not have a good time.
I diverted my eyes from all chomps. So.
My chomp nearly went great, then one of them sniped me on the way to the chest. I was so upset.
Yeah, I had fun in Ice Palace. I quick swapped to the fire rod before I hit the peg, so I shot the peg with the fire rod, and then I had a bit of a panic moment. Killed the jellies, got a heart, and had to fire beam dupe to kill Viddy.
Yeah, I had magic problem.
Or Coldster,
well.
sorry.
And a berry just dropped the magic and just saved me completely. And I was very happy about that.
Yeah, I figure if it drops a magic or a heart, like either way, I can at least finish the run. It's not ideal, but it'll work.
At this very moment, we saw Incoherent miss the torch glitch, having the wrong item out.
Oh no.
So we're just talking about quick swap and how that has affected our gameplay here.
Oh yeah, I have tried to get Torch Glitch with an ice rod multiple times. So I understand that.
Maybe you should ask the developers for this. So okay, so I guess I'm curious. Maybe Matt, this isn't going to be more applicable for you just because you ended up finishing first. But so we did mention that like if everyone's playing the same seed, right? All of the bosses like RNGs or like they're fixed. So like, was there any consideration of trying to open up other people's streams to kind of get like a preview? I guess like what's going to happen if you're behind, like someone else to kind of like watch like for like land mode patterns, or anything like that.
Are the Landmo patterns fixed also?
Yeah.
They should be.
They
I know,
are.
I know Helma. I know Helma is. I didn't think Landmo was.
I guess the first cycle was fixed for Lambo.
You're right. Yeah, the first one is. I don't think the rest of them are. I think the rest. I mean, even I think in the vanilla game, like it just starts to be random after that. I guess I don't know.
Right. No, after that, it's just seeded based on movement and timing and other things that are uncontrollable. So.
Yeah, stuff. There's not like a ton that can help you in the Dark World. The Helma is probably the most helpful, but like you can look at the Argus, see if he charges you quickly for the zero cycle, or which eye is going to pop out in Vidi, but it's not like that useful.
Yeah.
We actually picked up we opened up the restream and scouted the Aga 2 patterns from Matt.
Nice.
Yeah, that was actually helpful, and it was like,
those
okay,
Aga 2 patterns were actually pretty friendly.
The 3 cycle is completely free. The 2 cycle is sort of free.
Yeah, the 3 cycle is pretty free. The 2 cycle is very gettable. I think if you know what patterns are coming and you prepare for it,
exactly,
it should be pretty doable.
It actually helped. So
yeah, that's pretty funny. It looked definitely possible. I just don't think I saw anyone nail the 2 cycle in the seed.
Well, I, for one, sure didn't.
No.
Hi, my DM.
I was too close to Matt. I couldn't scout. He wasn't ahead far enough for me to scout Agate pattern, so I did it blind. But it was very friendly. Definitely saved this seed for your speedrun.
I gotta say,
Helma RNG was really nice as well.
Yeah, that one was really nice. One question I have for everybody else in here is that maybe it's just me. I've been running a lot of vanilla, like the actual NMG speedrun, and the lag difference in this rando seed from this to that really kind of threw me off in places. I was not. Maybe it's because I've been playing so much lately that I've been tighten up that run. But I really noticed the lag difference between the two on certain dashes and stuff. I was missing things. I was like, I would never miss this goal.
There's a very specific problem in a few places, and one of the obvious ones is in the Lost Woods when you're about to dash past the mushroom spot. I believe the rando ROM takes a decent chunk of time, like a good 10-15 frames, to load in the overworld item. And it's just when you're about to start a dash, and that always messes me up. And that just doesn't exist at all in an NMG, and like in the vanilla ROM. And maybe there's a few other spots like that.
The Harabomb jump. I'm always terrified of the Harabomb jump in rando, just because sometimes it'll just like super lag as you're walking up the spin, and then you're just dead. But it was just interesting. I just really noticed it this time.
I didn't notice it too much apart from in those random overworld spots, but I do a much safer Harabomb jump, so I wouldn't notice the lag as much as you would, I guess.
Harabomb jump only usually gets me if it goes wrong. Like if you take a bit too long and load some enemies on the other side of the room or something, and now there's just so many things going on.
Fair enough.
We were just watching Deagle fight Ganon, and unfortunately took a fall and did not end up finishing. But GG's to everyone who's finished. And we have a race finish from everyone involved. So
that is actually really cool. Actually,
good game, everybody.
Everyone basically finished right around like 131 basically and above. So that is actually really really good. Can't wait all of these. Yeah, I can't wait for all of these to kind of like to be on the leaderboard soon.
I'd like to at least meet my previous best time before I bother submitting something to a leaderboard. This was kind of slow. I picked up some safeties that I wouldn't normally pick up just on the off chance that I wanted to keep the run going, and then of course never used them, because why would you?
Right.
Any safety you grab, you'll never use. It's a rule.
That's why you grab them, to make sure you don't have to.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And let me just interject and say that no one should feel pressured to submit the best run to a leaderboard. It's all community-driven, current events, and just submit a time. If you have a time that's better than what's already on there, and if you have no time, you submit your time, and it's appreciated. People love to see a populated board. You're making everyone a favorite.
Okay, let me rephrase then. I'm not going to submit a run where I got run over by Ball and Chain Guard and the Green Guard combined. So I started this entire run off 3 minutes behind.
The only one who's going to laugh at that
the
is
most-
the moderators.
The most dangerous boss of all. The boss that is not a boss.
Mm-hmm.
Ball and chain god.
I mean, arguably, he might cause the most resets, right? Just because he's there, and if you feel like you've messed up, then it's just like a very easy, like, oh, well, I'm only like 2 minutes in, right? Let me just start my run over. I don't know.
And I legitimately considered that just so that the timer would show a more reasonable time. I thought, nah, you know what? It's a big group race. Let's just not drop the DNF right at the start.
I think it's also really phenomenal that everyone just like showed up. I mean, there's so many people basically showed up for this race. It's just really, really great to see. You know, so many people who enjoy rando, enjoy speedrunning, enjoy Link to the Past. Like, this was actually a really fun race basically to watch. Especially, you know, because Icebreaker and Diver Down were allowed. We saw like so much like divergence from everyone. So it's just really cool to see.
Is this going to be a weekly or maybe like a monthly race or something?
I'm not sure about that yet. What would you say, Mike? Any plans?
I am not planning on organizing these with regular intervals, no. I would appreciate it if it happened, but I am not going to take charge of that. This was just to introduce Rando to the leaderboards and let everybody know it's there. Submit your times. We don't only have vanilla, we have inverted vanilla, and we got cannon doors and Kaizumizer. Who knows what that is? I don't know. You check out the leaderboards and find out. And you submit things. We're gonna send out a survey soon and ask you what else do you want on there. And
I have already had Homemade Beer build me a preset for Sahabat that is vanilla preset, but it's Kaz Boots.
Yes.
Because
Very
I was
good.
talking to somebody who said, you know what, I hate the first 12 minutes of the run. I thought, you know what, the first 12 minutes of the run are kind of terrible. And I like my D-pad. I would like to not have to change the rubber in that more often than anything else on the entire controller.
we should make it pseudo boots, if anything.
I was gonna say, didn't we get boots here at like 10 minutes, right? So I mean, unless you really don't like, you know, like Desert Overworld or something.
Yeah, sub 10 green pendant. Yeah, GG's everyone on your runs. Any final thoughts?
Just thanks a lot for putting this on. This was a lot of fun. And shouts to Mike and Chex too for organizing and helping out with all this, and everybody involved with the restream as well.
Yeah, thanks again to Clear Mouse for organizing at least me to be here on commentary.
No,
This is great.
I appreciate
Good
it.
organization. Like, yeah, the thing that happened was that Kern said, maybe we should have a restream. And I said, hey, Clear Mouse, do you know any people? And then this happened. So a lot
I
of
can't take any credit. No, I mean, like, okay, right. So Mike talked to me, and then I was like, hey, Sirius, like, I remember you doing a bunch of stuff for the NMG tournament, and then Sirius like, hey, Cubs, do you want to help out with ZSR for this? And the Cubs like, yeah, let me just make everything happen. Honestly, like, that was like the entire conversation. Like, that was it. And so, like, everything was just like super smooth. I really want to thank Cubs and Trez and ZSR basically for putting this on. Like, I think, you know, personally, all of this, like, swapping in racers, you know, keeping track of, you know, who has, like, clean audio, MSUs, whatever, like, it is all just black magic, tech behind the scenes, and, I mean, everything just was just so smooth. So thank you so much. I mean, you know, like, I think talking is the easy part, so... of course, Check's always really fun to be able to do this with you. But of course, none of this, I think, can happen whatsoever without basically just community support. Like, again, I was just so happy to see so many people show up for this. And not only that, like, you guys put on, like, a really good race, a really clean, nice seeing execution, like, throughout. So it was just really just, like, it was, like, a pleasure and a privilege to be able to commentate this race. So.
Hey, you guys did the hard work. I just sat here and took a nap for an hour and a half. I don't know what you're talking about.
How can you take a nap? Did you see like Vortex's like moth fight? Or yeah, Vortex was so Vortex dropped into moth like on 2.5 hearts. He couldn't kill Mouth fast enough, so like it got to the point where like all the spikes were just literally moving like left and right, and it was pretty dang scary. So.
Just a few white knuckle moments throughout the race, I think we saw. But big shout outs. Thank you to everyone racing today. Clearmouse, Mike, Checks, for your work on the back end on commentary. I cannot thank you for giving us the chance to be a part of it. If we want to turn this into a more weekly, monthly thing, let me know. We can get something worked out. For the moment, we're going to be heading over to ZSR 2 for a Skyward Sword Rando co-op tournament race. Keep an eye on the ZSR schedule. There's quite a bit more coming up this weekend, of course. Any final thoughts from anyone before we head on out for the day?
Enjoy Vanilla Rando, everyone. Enjoy Rando, enjoy Vanilla, and have fun with Vanilla Rando. See you all for the No Logic race coming up.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and again, thank you so much for like organizing this, and just doing all of the work. Really, really do appreciate it.
All right, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. Stay safe out there. Until next time, we will see you back here soon. Have a good night.